All right, hunters. Hey, today, this is survival talk. Just going to talk about how to have a survival kit, what goes in them. This is for me. This is the way I operate. You can modify it and do whatever you want, but I have a go bag in every vehicle, and I have a survival kit in every vehicle. And so, number one, survival. And this is kind of what I go off of. I think about this. You have the rest of your life to survive. So don't get in a hurry. The number one tool that you must have is PMA, a positive mental attitude. It makes things a whole lot easier when you're positive, when things are really bad, instead of saying, man, this sucks. Just say, hey, I'm still breathing. Nobody's lobbing hand grenades at me. I'm in pretty damn good shape. You know, it could always be worse. So, once you establish that PMA, you need 6 things. There's 6 areas of survival. They're pretty simple. There's 3 F's, 2 S's, and 1 W. So the 3 F's are food, fire, and first aid. Food, fire, and first aid. The 2 S's are shelter and signaling. And the W is water. So you can basically survive, give or take, depending on the climate and your activity, 3 days without water. And then you're done. Your organs will shut down. You can survive 3 weeks without food. So that's the general rule of thumb. 3 days, 3 weeks. What do I consider the most important element of survival? I would say water. If you can find a clean water source that you know 100% is clean, there's no pathogens, no bacteria, no fungi, you're good. In nature, that doesn't happen too often because of animals. So you have to have, along with your water, you have to have fire. You have to have fire.
As we move towards the future.
I bumped the button. All right. So, fire. A good quality magnesium fire starter is very good to have, because a magnesium fire starter even works when it's wet. Right? Flint will strike when it's wet. So, but there's a lot of different ways you can make fire. 9-volt battery and steel wool, a lighter, matches. Then there's the primitive methods. Bow and drill is my preferred primitive method. And it takes a lot of work to come up with a good bow and a good drill. You need a long bow. I see people make short bows. You're doubling your work. The shorter the bow, the more work. So the components of a bow and drill would be your socket, which is what you hold on with your hand, your drill itself, which would be a straight stick, rod, whatever, your fireboard, your bow with your string. 550 cord probably makes the best string. And then you need an ember patch. And then you need a bird's nest. So that's the components of bow and drill. Look it up, Google it. I'm not going to get into it. There's a lot of people that do bow and drill. All right. So, like I said, fire is number one, along with water. You got to have water. So with water, you got to have containers. You got to have some way to get the water. So there's a lot of different containers out there, collapsible, plastic, whatever. I like just Ziploc bags, big 1 gallon Ziploc bags, because you can go down, fill a Ziploc bag up, and transport it back. And you also need some way to boil it. So you can do aluminum foil, but it takes a lot. I do carry aluminum foil with me. It's very, very handy out there in the woods. I'll take 25 yards of it and fold it up and put it in my survival kit. All right, first aid. You got to have first aid. If you get injured out there and you have no way to, protect the wound, clean the wound, any of that, you run the risk of infection. And you get infected, your body's trying to fight that off with a weakened immune system because of the lack of nutrition. So first aid, you got to have first aid. There's a lot of different first aid kits out there. You need to know how to make a splint, field expedient splint. There's a lot of different things that you need to know how to do. It just takes practice. So food, it don't mean you carry food with you. It means you carry the means to procure food. If there's bodies of water nearby, fresh or salt, there's fish, normally. You can make fish baskets. You can set up snares for small game. You can make spears. And I'm not going to get into all that, but you got to have the means to procure food. All right. So, food, fire, first aid, and water. So you need shelter. So in all my go bags, I have a poncho, a military poncho. You can do a lot with a military poncho. So I always have one of them. It makes great shelter. And it's easy and it's quick. Trash bags. I mean big, like construction trash bags, contractor bags are good. You can cut them up and make shelter. You can put them over your roof of your shelter to keep the water, rain off of you, so on and so forth. You can build walls with them on the ends, keep the wind off of you. And I like a couple different things when it comes to shelter. I like a good handsaw. Used to flip out handsaws about that long. I got 3 of them at Big Lots for $4.99 a piece. So if one breaks, I chunk it. But I keep the blades, because you can always field expediently rig a blade up on a bow or something. So a good saw, a good multi-tool, like a Leatherman super tool with a saw on it. You can build a house with one of them damn things. And a good knife for cleaning game, whether it's fish or squirrels or rabbits or even deer. You need a good knife with a belly on it. Don't get a knife with a tanto blade like this. I'll show you. Can you see that? That's that tanto blade. It's real hard to clean game with that. You need a good belly instead of a tanto blade. This is my little utility knife I carry at work for just cutting stuff. So it's not what I would have in my survival kit. A lot of different knives out there. Cordage is another one. If you have 100 feet of 550 cord, you actually have, some of them are 7-strand. A lot of the commercial grade are 5-strand. But if it's commercial grade 550 cord, then you got 500 feet of cordage, because you can take the innards out. And never waste cordage. Never cut it unless you have to. Always try to use it complete and then daisy chain it back up. Keep it in your pack. And believe it or not, I carry an extra pair of socks. Always socks. Now, why would I want to carry an extra pair of socks? I will wear those socks and change them every day. I change them every day, clean them, and hang them up. You got to take care of your feet. You got to take care of your feet out there. I learned that lesson the hard way as a young man. Didn't take care of my feet, and I got a fungus. And yeah, painful, not good. All right, so there's your shelter. So you need methods of signaling. So the international distress signal is 3 evenly spaced objects in a row. Whether those objects be fires, whether it be a pile of rocks, piles of wood, it doesn't matter. 3 evenly spaced objects. So keep that in mind. That's the international distress signal. If you need to get rescued or whatever. Now, you don't want to use your signaling if you're trying to evade. Right? You probably don't want to use signaling, but I do have signaling devices in my survival kit. The next thing you know, you need a good carrier for your survival kit. I got a really durable fanny pack that I use. And I can ditch everything else and just leave that fanny pack on. I got everything I need to survive. Something to think about. So that's pretty much the survival kit, folks. You got to have PMA. You got to have a good kit to carry it. And you got to have a plan. You got to have a good plan. You got to know your surroundings. You got to know what's out there, where you're at. Get a book on edible plants. Although you do need protein, there's a lot of edible plants out there that are high in vitamins. Dandelion greens, wild onions, pine needles. Pine needles are high in vitamin C. There's all kinds of roots and berries and everything out there that you can utilize. Keep that in mind. So that's today's survival tip. K2 style. Y'all keep it tight. Practice your survival skills. Take care of your families. Stock up on knowledge. You want to hoard something, hoard knowledge. That would be the thing that could get you through the really rough times. And I think there's going to be some rough times ahead. I think it's going to be a while before this gets any better. So, stay safe. Stay safe. God bless. I'll talk to you soon. Keep your powder dry. Be prepared to march at a minute's warning.